And you should be on page 8. First of all, I want you to look at that diagram that I passed out. Look at the diagram, and I want you to try to notice patterns. We're going to talk about that in a second. So the laminated copy you have in front of you, just want you to study that for a second. And we're going to get into detail in just a moment. Okay, on the count of 3, I want you to point to the color wheel in the art room. 1, 2, 3. The color wheel is located above the sink. I'm not moving that color wheel. That color wheel is always going to be there. So if you need to refer to it, you absolutely may. So the top of the color wheel should always be, wait for it, on the count of 3, what color should always be at the top of the color wheel? 1, 2, 3.
Yellow.
Yellow. At the top of your color wheel, I want you to put a Y at the top. Put a Y for yellow. Okay, there are 3 primary colors. In the lower left-hand corner of your color wheel, wait for it. Tell me what color. Wait for it. On the count of 3. What is the primary color in the lower left-hand corner of the color wheel? 1, 2, 3.
Red.
Red. Put an R in the primary color in the lower left-hand corner. Okay, now look for the last primary color, which will be in the lower right-hand corner of your color wheel. On the count of 3, tell me what color goes in the lower right-hand corner of your color wheel. Primary color. 1, 2, 3.
Blue.
Blue. Put a B there. Put a B for blue. Now, those are our 3 primary colors. Now look at your color wheel cheat sheet that I gave you, the laminated copy. There are no formulas for making yellow, red, or blue. And that's because you can't make them. If you don't have red, yellow, and blue in your paints or your colored pencils, you can't make it. All the other colors you can make. So, now I want you to look on your colored wheel cheat sheet here, and I want you to locate your secondary colors on the laminated sheet. Okay, on the count of 3, I want you to tell me what color goes in between red and yellow. 1, 2, 3. Orange. The secondary color, put an O in between red and yellow for the secondary color. That color goes in between red and blue. Wait for it. Wait for it. 1, 2, 3. Violet. If you said purple, that's okay. Alright. If you said purple, that's okay. Because until I started studying that color theory, I would consider violet to be like a high key value. A light purple is what I would consider violet. I'm not really sure why they call it violet in color theory, but I have a theory why. My hypothesis is this. To say red violet and blue violet, it rolls off the tongue a lot better than saying red purple or blue purple. So I'm not sure if that's why they do it, but that's what I think it is. Okay, what color goes in between blue and yellow? Wait for it. What secondary color goes in between blue and yellow? 1, 2, 3.
Green.
Green. Put a G in this secondary color space of right chaw. Okay, now we're going to put our formulas for our 3 secondary colors. Now I want you to locate on your paper, on your laminated copy, locate orange, violet, and green, and then look for the yellow highlighted numbers next to it. Look for the yellow highlighted numbers next to it. I want you to look for a pattern in these numbers here. Okay, now we're going to list those numbers. We're going to write down those formulas, and then I want you to tell me if you see a pattern. Okay, for your secondary color orange, right underneath orange, I want you to write 1/2 Y, 1/2 Y plus 1/2 R. Now when we say it out loud, I want you to go ahead and use the full color. Don't just say Y and R. But since we've got so much to write on these formulas, just put Y and R for that. So right underneath the orange, you're going to write 1/2 Y plus 1/2 R. Okay, then on the diagonal line pointing to the center of the circle, you're going to put the parts formula. So it's 1y plus 1r. When you say that out loud, you would say 1 part yellow plus 1 part red. So do that now. Make sure you have your fraction formula and your parts formula for orange. Okay, now locate violet. Locate your violet formulas and write your fraction formula right above the circle for violet. It's 1/2 R plus 1/2 B. When you say it out loud, you say 1/2 red plus 1/2 blue, which is the same as saying, you're going to write this on the or actually it's a vertical line here, 1B plus 1R. When you say that out loud, you say 1 part blue plus 1 part red. So those two formulas, they're two different ways of saying the same thing. 1/2 red, 1/2 blue is the same as saying 1 part blue, 1 part red. And our last secondary color is what? 1, 2, 3. Green. Okay, we're going to write that formula underneath green here. The fraction formula for green is 1/2 yellow plus 1/2 blue. My y looks a little bit like a 4. Make sure your y doesn't look like a 4 when you're doing fractions and numbers. Okay, 1/2 yellow plus 1/2 blue. Then on the diagonal, we're going to do the parts. 1 part yellow, 1y plus 1b. 1/2 yellow plus 1/2 blue. Now, what do you notice? Raise your hand, not your voice. What do you notice about those formulas that we just wrote down? There's a pattern. Go ahead and raise your hand, not your voice, when you see a pattern with those 3 secondary colors. We wrote down 6 formulas. What's the pattern there? What do you notice that's the same for all of them? Look at the formulas you just wrote down. This will make it easier for you to remember. What's the same? Zoe, do you know? Do you notice? Okay, look at those formulas. What's the same about all 3 of those sets of formulas? Taco?
They all need half of primary color.
Yes, they're all half and half. So when you're doing secondary colors with your primary colors, it's always half and half. Okay, we're going to move on to our tertiary intermediate colors. Intermediate tertiary. It says on the color wheel here, tertiary. We're going to learn them as intermediate. They're the same thing. Okay, tell me on the count of 3 what goes in between orange and yellow. And remember to say the primary color first. Always say the primary color first. What goes in between orange and yellow? 1, 2, 3. Yellow orange. Put a Y dash O. Always hyphenated. The primary color is always first. Crayola crayons does not always list them correctly. And when they don't, they're wrong. Wrong, I tell you. Wrong, wrong, wrong. Pinky's right. Crayola crayon, multi-million-dollar company. Wrong. Okay, we're going to write our formula. Start reading with our fraction formula below it, which is 2/3 yellow plus 1/3 red. 2/3 yellow, 1/3 red. Then our parts formula on the diagonal is 2y plus 1r. 2 parts red, 2 parts yellow, 1 part red. And it's 2 parts yellow because it's more dominant in yellow. Now, this has to be diagrammed before you can have this page stamped. So why do you care? Why do you care if you have every page stamped? Two reasons. First of all, if you have one page not stamped, you don't get credit for any of the packet. Second of all, and probably the most important reason for you personally, is at the end of this lesson, we have a cookie color wheel test. You cannot do the cookie color wheel test until the entire packet is complete. The cookie color wheel test is this. I'm going to give you 12 little cookies. Then I'm going to give you 3 colors, 3 primary colors in frosting. You're going to mix all 12 colors with those 3 colors. Once you finish your test, I'm going to pour it onto a piece of paper towel and you're going to eat your test. So, you have to make sure you have everything complete. Okay, back to our diagramming. Study your laminated sheet. What color goes in between orange and red? On the count of 3, make sure you say the primary color first. 1, 2, 3. Red, orange. R-O. Red, orange. The fraction formula for red, orange. I'm going to put the fraction formula right next to the color, and it's 2/3 red plus 1/3 yellow. 2/3 red, 1/3 yellow. So red, orange, and yellow, orange both use red and yellow, but it's the formulas that make them different. The parts is 2 parts red plus 1 part yellow. 2 parts red, 1 part yellow. For red, orange. The next one, it falls in between violet and red. On the count of 3, tell me what color. Make sure you list the primary color first. What color goes in between violet and red? 1, 2, 3.
Red violet.
Red violet. R-V. Red violet. Our fraction formula is going to go right next to our color. And the fraction formula for that is 2/3 red plus 1/3 blue. 2/3 red plus 1/3 blue. And then on the diagonal, we're going to put the parts. 2 parts red, 2R plus 1 part blue, 1B. Okay, what goes in between violet and blue? On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3.
Blue violet.
Blue violet. You're turning violet, violet. Then we're going to put the fraction formula right next to the color, which is 2/3 blue plus 1/3 red. 2/3 blue, 1/3 red. More dominant in the blue than red this time. Then we're going to put our parts formula on the diagonal. That's 2 parts blue, 2B, plus 1 part red, 1R. In between green and blue, always say the primary color first. 1, 2, 3.
Green.
Blue, green. B dash G, blue-green. The fraction formula is 2/3 blue plus 1/3 yellow. Now we're mixing these with primary color, so we won't have green in there. We're mixing the blue-green with blue and yellow. The parts formula, 2 parts blue, 2B, plus 1 part yellow, 1Y. We have one more to list. In between green and yellow, always say the primary color first. What is it? 1, 2, 3.
Yellow green.
Yellow green, Y dash G. The fraction formula for yellow green is 2/3 yellow plus 1/3 blue. The parts formula is 2 parts yellow, 2y, plus 1b, 1 part blue. Now when we do our cookie color wheel test, it will be an open note test, but I will not help you. You will be able to see your fraction formulas. If this isn't here, first of all, if it's not there, you're not getting cookies. Second of all, if it's not there, you might be a little bit lost. So we will come back to this. Next class, we're going to color these, not today.